Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Thank you for tuning in. If you are, in fact, coming in televised live, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the replay. People who join in. We just went through a holiday. So Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates. I often talk about getting watches for Christmas, birthdays, sending the links to those loved ones that want to get us what we want as watch enthusiasts. Of course, we want watches as a watch enthusiast who comes on and does content. Of course, I want some watches for Christmas to take a look at. I normally go after more affordable watches because I don't want to ask my loved ones to spend too much money when it comes to adding stuff to the collection. But I had a couple of watches that I was interested to take a look at. We often talk about affordable watches on this channel, so it serves me well to get a couple in that are often talked about and for me to do a deep dive and experience things with it. Good morning, Monk is in the building. Megazoid, what is going on? Merry Christmas if you celebrate. I hope you guys got all the gifts and spent some time with loved ones. More importantly, I was able to do so, so I'm very happy to announce that. What's on the wrist? So last time we were talking about straps, and I had a watch that I didn't bring with me, but I have with me today. I made sure to wear this watch so I could show you guys. Merry Christmas, Mega. So this is the BLP that I was talking to you guys about. Very popular watch. I want to say I wasn't risking it as much as I should, man. I was a little disappointed with myself with putting this watch on. But, however, going back to what we talked about before, strap changes make a big difference. And on this guy, this strap is absolutely clutch. I love this mesh bracelet that I paired with it. It actually came off of my San Martin, has their logo right here. We have some quick extension here, so that's very nice. And then some quick release at the lugs, man. Listen, I feel like that's what we need to expect when we come from our bracelets moving forward. All of the watch companies, all of the, not so much the affordable watches, right? We can understand not getting everything on the checklist, if you will, from our bracelets or our straps from affordable brands. But for the micro brands, for the independent brands, if you are listening, if you happen to be tuning in, please, for the love of God, put that diver extension, that, quick release function, and also a quick release over here. Just, it makes a hell of a difference. It doesn't have to be top-notch quality. I mean, I think the San Martin executed very well. It's very easy. It just has that push button on the back to do the extension, and then you just, even when it's on wrist, right? I don't know if I'm able to do that while we're here on live. We'll give it a shot. Even when it's on my wrist, I could kind of click it in and get it a little bit tighter. So, it has to be off wrist to make it larger, but that's okay. It gives us the function for that thermal expansion for our wrist when it gets hotter or we're going from cold to hot. Often happens as well when we have the heat on inside and we're coming from the cold. Man, I love my bracelets. I love to wear them all the time. Please, please, independent and micro brands, for your bracelets, if you can, put that feature in for your boy. I think most people would agree. But I wanted to do an unboxing for you guys as well. I got a Christmas haul, if you will. I sent some links out to the watches that I was interested for the channel. That's my little gem to you guys if you're looking to get watches, especially when you're in the early stages of watch collecting. That could be somewhat costly. And if you have affordable watches as watch gifts, man, don't just tell people you want a watch. Send them the link to the watches that you want, One of the watches that I don't have that I absolutely love was from my sister-in-law, and she actually purchased a wooden watch for me. Super cool. It looks like a diver. If you guys are on Watch Crunch, I already posted it up. I love that watch. She actually hit a home run with that, but it's not always the case, and sometimes we get watches that we don't really gravitate towards, so send the links out if you are interested on particular watches. So it's not going to be a super official unboxing because I have the watches that I want to show you guys in this watch roll. I just figured it'd be a lot easier for me to bring it out that way, so I want to show you guys what in fact we got. Oscar's in the building. Good morning, Oscar. Raymond is in the building. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys had a lovely holiday and a lovely time with your family. So what do we start off with? That's the question. All right, so here's a brand that is of the affordable nature that I was interested to get on here. And I'm going to blame I'm going to blame that channel, I Like Watches. And the reason why is because he often features this company on his channel and he only says good things about it. So it piqued my curiosity. So we have the Boltony that we actually requested for Christmas and we got into our collection now. Now, I was interested in this because A, it does have a Seagull movement. Now, did I go for the automatic? No. So this watch, you can choose between an automatic and a hand wind. I think that I went for the hand wind. I don't feel the rotor in there. I went for the hand wind version because it's thinner, right? And this is already a large, wide piece diameter-wise. So you probably need a little bit of a bigger wrist to put this on. I have a 7¼ inch wrist, so it should fit nice and well. And as you guys can see, the plastic is still on, so it's not an official unboxing, but it kind of is. I like to do the first looks with you guys as watches come in. I figured I feature that kind of vibe for the channel as watches come in, either for review. Now this segment is not sponsored, right? All of these were gifts, so they were technically purchased some way or some fashion. But let's get the plastic off here. Let me show you guys the dial that I went with. This came with, I believe, 2 different colorways. You could either get this in white or you can get this in the salmon dial, which I have salmon in my collection now, thanks to Namoki Mods. You guys saw that build that I did with that pole router. But this Boltony I felt was very, very beautiful. The crown is in a position that I'm not used to. We have some nice blued hands for the second hand. I thought the hands were interesting, gave that vintage vibe. And we got a Seagull movement in here. So the Seagull movement, as you guys know, if you don't know, they're changing their requirements for how these affordable brands and whatever other relationships they have, they're going to have to order bigger portions. I don't know if it's specifically to this one. I think this is the Seagull ST17 in here. But hey, listen, I figured I'd go ahead and pull the trigger on some Seagull movement things that I'm interested in. Again, being affordable, I like to feature affordable watches on the channel here. We also go upwards to up to $1,000, $1,500. You know, I'm gonna feature other things as we go along, but I felt like this was a beautiful watch, and I Like Watches normally says that they have great finishing on it. Now, this is my first impression. I'm going to remove some plastic here just to take a look at the case back. The case back is screwed in with screws. And we have a high polish here, right? So that's one of the things that I look for as a reviewer. You and I both know that this is going to receive a lot of scratches. If I put a metal bracelet on this especially, this came with a leather strap. The leather strap is decent. I want to say it's decent quality, nothing too crazy. It does feel pretty supple, right? So we're doing our first impressions of the watch. We have some text here, some engravings of the specifications on the back, Boltony in the middle, high reflection, as you guys can see. You can almost see the reflection of the live on here as well. So that to me shouts, okay, it's polished pretty much all around. It's more of a dressier watch. Definitely vintage inspiration. Beautiful salmon dial as far as I could see. There's brushing on the dial. I don't know if you guys can make that out, but it's got some circular brushing to it. Love the little second hands on it. I'm going to have fun with this watch, man. Let's put it on wrist. We didn't break in the leather, so we're going to have to excuse the stiffness in the leather. You know, it's a little wonky. You have to break it in. There's several ways to do that. You can just work it, you know, as far as like just creasing it yourself, pulling it back and forth. You can put it in a dryer to soften up leather and then treat it with some regular stuff at home. You could do some Vaseline. You could get some actual stuff for leather to actually make it supple if you want to. I'm thinking that this leather strap is pretty decent quality. I'm just unwrapping the buckle here. The buckle, the hardware on this is also polished, and it does have a small engraving for the company as well. So pretty nice, pretty nice. I'm interested to get into this. I'm going to do some time testing, if you will. One thing that I'm very intrigued about right now, guys, is this PT5000. I'm really intrigued on it. I'm doing some homework on it. I watched a watchmaker actually take the movement apart and do some close-ups on the movement to see how it was effectively holding up against that. You know, it's technically a clone of the ETA, as we know. So I'm super interested to see how that holds up, man, because if it is a well-finished movement and it functions the same way, it being a clone of the ETA movement, man, it's really piques my curiosity to say, why isn't that being used a little bit more? So let's put this on wrist. see how that looks as far as the diameters and everything else. I'll be honest with you, I didn't really even check to see if this was going to fit on my wrist. I normally don't have any issues with watches not fitting on my wrist unless it's extremely large or if it has a very big lug to lug. So again, guys, don't mind the leather strap not being flush, but we can see in my 7¼ inch wrist, it takes up the majority of it. It has a presence. It's pretty thin. It being a hand wind only, not automatic. They have two versions that you can purchase. And again, they have the white dial version and they have the salmon dial. And I thought it was a pretty cool movement, if you will. Kind of like those official like driver watches, if you will, the way that the dial is orientated to be on the wrist while you're driving, you're able to read it. So pretty cool. I like it. I was impressed by it. I just bought my buddy a Chronos Explorer 1 homage. Nice, with the PT 5000 for Christmas. Yo, and doesn't that make a hell of a lot of sense, Thelonious? For them to put a movement of a clone to an ETA, right? So you're going to have everything that you would feel from that kind of movement. Now, one of the things that I saw when I saw an actual watchmaker take it apart is he said the finishing was pretty good. All of the parts were decently made. One of the things that he came across was the oiling of the movement, right? And that's where I need to really do my homework before I come on and I really talk about it in detail. That PT 5000 movement, one thing that you can expect from manufacturing, unfortunately, is it being under oiled, right? And that's not going to be a problem now. It's not going to be a problem maybe even in, I would say, 5 years' time. What I will say is that it will affect the longevity over an extensive period of time where you're going to see some issues with that oils drying up faster than they should. If they do that, there's more friction between parts, and therefore there's going to be more of a damage to the movement, if you will, right? Because at that point, when you have metal on metal and it's grinding. But other than that, man, there's more to dive deep in that. We have to see if is that coming just from a specific manufacturer? I don't know. And I'm curious, what was the price that you spent on that Chronos? Did you include that, Thelonious? You said PT 5000. What was the price on that watch? I'm just curious to know because from what I could see, the version that I got from Tandorio was still within the same. It wasn't like a $250 watch versus a $100 watch, right? It's sub 120, but it was still in the affordable range, and that piques my interest because that may be the answer for the NH35 kind of qualms that we have. Now, when I was watching that video, another thing about it was running at plus or minus, I believe it was 10 seconds a day, and it could be regulated, and he did do a regulation on it, which it was only plus 1 second a day. Obviously, he did it in different orientations, so it was different scales, but that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. It's a high beat movement. And if we can get that in watches that are of the affordable range, especially on a homage, clomage, whatever you want to call it, I think that that's closer to, right? It's not going to be obviously a Rolex movement, not going to dare say that, but it is going to be a high beat movement, a smoother sweep, longer power reserves, 4 hertz, 28,800 beats, you know? So that's pretty cool. It was $180 shipped. See what I mean? So that is within like the Pagani design range, Tandorio, a little bit more. But I think it's worth it if your biggest hangup with these homage or clomages is the movement itself. Again, we've always talked about how the NH movement can be regulated as well. We also talked about how because it's not working as hard, right? It's 21.6, I believe. I went on here last time, I said 26.6, and Trap was a gentleman. He didn't correct me, but I did catch that mistake. 21.6 beats for the NH35, and here's the deal. Those are longer service intervals, right? And we know we're not going to service the movement. Even with that PT 5000, it's affordable enough where I would say just swap the movement yourself. Give that a shot, ski. If not, take it to a watchmaker, buy the movement, take it to them. If you're really attached to that piece, or at that point, you know, if the watchmaker is going to charge you $150 to do a movement swap, maybe it's better just to buy the piece all over again. I don't know. For me, I get kind of like attached to the actual case and the dial. I love knowing that over time that that's going to get older. So even on a homage watch, I would do a service to it, but I'd be just swapping out the movement. And you guys know I mess around with watches, so I'd be doing it myself. So it's only the cost of the movement itself. So technically on paper, that's going to be a cheaper cost to keep that watch on wrist. I'm attached to my homage clomage just as much as I'm attached to my independent brands or my Boulevard for that matter. You know what I mean? So for me, I want to hang on to the watch. Welcome in, Wristful Ignorance. Trap Vision 3D is in the building. Gentlemen, thank you for congregating on this lovely morning. Again, I hope you guys had a lovely holiday. We have another watch that I'm going to be showcasing here soon. And the third one actually wasn't on the thumbnail. So that's a little bit of a surprise because I ran out of room on the thumbnail. You try not to go too crazy on them. But this is the second watch that I had, man. And this played a role. So the Bolony played a role as well, right? I have a salmon dial, but I don't have a case design like this. So I was intrigued to take a look at a Bolony and see what that is all about. Now this watch, let me I still have the plastic on it. So, you know, brand new Christmas gift. Didn't have a red dial in my collection. Didn't have a jump hour. So for that feature, for that jump hour feature, now we looked at a Vario watch. That was a jump hour. Very, very nice work of art. But I gotta say, for this affordable price on this watch as well, it's also a lovely, and now I haven't messed around with the movement long enough. I just pretty much unboxed this, of course. But I was missing a red dial. I don't want a deep, deep red. This is kind of like a lighter red on it with yellow hands. Of course, we have the minute hand, the second hand, and then the jump hour in the middle, which is acting like a date wheel aperture, but is in fact a hour indicator on this watch. Super affordable. This is also, I believe, an ST movement, okay? So we're racking up on those ST movements before they start jumping a crazy price for that. Now, is this an automatic? Let's find out. This is an automatic. This is an automatic. So versus the Bolony, which I decided to go with hand wind because it gave me a result of a thinner case. This one not being too thick as well, but you could see, let's see if we could get a comparison now that we have them both out. This is still a chunky boy though, right? So I figure if I did get the automatic movement, maybe I did. Am I going nuts? Oh, snap. Got him. This is the automatic version, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. Yeah, buddy. Okay, so I didn't go with the hand wind only. This is actually the automatic movement, which is why it's almost, see, I realized that when I put them up against each other, and I'm over here saying, oh yeah, it's thinner, so it's better. And then I'm holding it. I'm like, yeah, that's like the same thickness. Maybe I want to check my facts. Automatic movement, completely different styles, but still lovely watches. I'm giving you guys my first impressions. The dials have a nice detail on here. Mostly painted on, nothing applied. From what I could see, makes sense because this also gives off a vintage vibe. Now the colorway is a little bit offsetting to that kind of, because I think more of the vintage watches, I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of pocket, but I feel like the vintage vibes are not as colorful and everything else, and or they have like a different kind of tone to it, but I don't know. Who knows? Leather strap on this as well. Now this was produced by Mercury, and this is a Pierre Paulin, okay? You guys probably seen a bunch of reviews, so have I. I've been influenced, if you will, by the other channels to check this watch out. But an affordable brand that is pretty much impressive as far as the eye can see with other people's feedback. So it piqued my curiosity. I love the color tone to the strap. The strap is actually supple. We have quick release at that strap. So they are doing it, and they're doing it well. Now let's remove the plastic in the back for all you plastic removers out there that love this kind of setup here at this point. Hang on. I guess I can't do this on camera. Let me take off the plastic. Let's take a look at the case back. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we have some engraving on the case back as well. Like, again, Mercury is producing this watch, I suppose. It's a little confusing, right? Because when I was getting into the Pierre Paulin, I thought that they were their own watch brand, but apparently there's a couple of companies, I think, that go for this watch. Now, this is not a typical colorway that you see on here. In fact, I did go to a website. I believe it was Mercury. I put some links on there where I actually sent links out to the family to purchase these watches for me. And so you guys will see the price. These are all pretty affordable. And we do have some crown engraving here. As far as that goes, it's done very, very nice, actually. It's pretty much just the shape of a conventional watch. Pretty nice. The back, again, engraved. There is a little bit of polishing on here, but for the most part, I'm seeing some brushing, so we don't have to worry as much as this receiving scratches compared to this being a high polished mirror finish. And that's definitely, if I put a metal strap on this, going to receive some scratching. That's a thing for some people, believe it or not. Some people don't like for their watches to look all beat up. No see-through casebacks, no exhibition casebacks on these, which I'm fine with. I love the size and the proportions on it. Let's put this on wrist. Of course, I haven't set the time. Now, this is a buckle that's a little different. I haven't seen something like this. I guess this catches it on the way in, but let's see it on wrist. Let's see what the break-in period is for this compared to the other watch. The other watch was a little stiff, I have to admit. Still pretty good quality. But I could tell this needs a little bit of break-in period, but it does have a nice thickness to it. The actual stitching is done very, very well. I don't see any fraying on the back or in the front of it. I love that they actually matched up the color a little bit with the stitching to it. That's kind of like a thing for me. Let's put this on wrist and see what we're working with over here. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Nice. All right, so yeah, right off the bat, man, like the leather on this one is supple enough that I would say it ever so slightly will need a break-in period, right? And this is the size of it on my wrist, 7¼ inch wrist, for you guys to have like a reference to, trying to get rid of the glare. But the leather strap on this actually wraps around pretty nicely right out of the box. So I'm pretty impressed with this. I love the look of it. I love that vintage watch type of style. We have some detailing going on in the center of the dial. Again, if you guys want to follow along, the links are in the description. So if you want to look at that watch on the website as I'm going through it, you feel free to do so. And yeah, man, I don't have any hang up. Now, it doesn't look like we have any lume on this or on this, but these are both being dress watches. So for me, I love lume. Do I need it? No. We all have our phones at the end of the day if we're in the dark. You know what I mean? It is slightly better to have a watch with decent lume on it if you wake up in the middle of the night and you don't want to turn on your phone. That's going to blast you with lights. Of course, you could adjust the settings, but, you know, these are the little things. I mean, I put this on a little tight, but I do like this Pierre Paulin off the bat. I am impressed as far as my first impressions go. Now, this leather feels actually pretty thick. It feels a little unconventional. It has some detailing in the leather itself. The stitching, again, is matching the colorway of the strap a little bit. Yep, they went with a gray tone on this gray leather strap. 20 millimeters on both, I believe, which is something you're going to see very commonly with these affordable watches because they know that chances are a watch enthusiast already has a bunch of straps, and therefore, if they do end up cheaping out on the straps, they at least want to put it at a number that is going to be very common to swap things out, right? So you don't see it very often when a super affordable watch is like a 24 or a 26 or an 18, if you will, you know, if you follow that. Skylar will disrupt the watch market in 2025. Big brands will come for him. Oh, man, stop it. Stop it. Listen, man, I appreciate that. And I'm more than happy to work with any brand, of course, but, you know, I feel blessed already at the level that we're at in the relationships that we already have done. Let me catch up on the chat. In the Benz watch, Explorer watch. Okay. Yep. You missing your Red Bull. Oscar with the Red Bull, man. I'm never missing the Red Bull, baby. Come on, you already know. Look at this guy. He's pure salesman through and through. I guess that's the thing that we got going back and forth, Trap. Every time one of us is showing a watch, we go, oh man, his superpowers is activated, people. I'm hiding my credit card. Listen, man, somebody's got to showcase these watches, as if there's not enough channels. There's plenty of channels showcasing watches. But buy at your own warning, right? Buy at your own pocket level and where you want. Don't just buy a watch because I show it. I'm just I'm just giving you guys the experience. You guys are laughing. I'm laughing too. I'm just giving you guys the experiences that I'm going through. And I chose these two watches because they're super popular on the reviews, right? And here's the deal. when you get on YouTube and you want to talk watches outside your watch collection, it could get very costly. And if you don't have any reputation, is what Trap was alluding to before, then it's very difficult. Yeah. So you see a lot of watch channels go through affordable watches. Guys, it's not cheap to do this, and YouTube is not paying. Even when you do get monetized, it's not like you're swimming in money. So I get the hustle. That's why I tell you guys, for your birthday, for your Christmas, if you're a watch reviewer especially. Now, here's the deal. You could say to yourself, well, why don't you just ask companies to borrow watches? You can, listen, but sometimes they don't even answer us to borrow watches. So it's easier said than done. It's not like it's a very easy thing to just have all this content and have all the things that you want to talk about. Plus, there's an aspect of it of watches that you want to discuss. Yeah, it's not just like, oh, just throwing stuff against the wall, which I'll be honest with you guys, I threw stuff against the wall in the beginning, because it's like, I'm nobody. YouTube don't know me, these companies don't know me, but through your guys' support, which I really want to reflect on this year, I think that my name is at least getting whispers, and I have relationships that I built already. Of course, I did a lot of legwork, right? Sometimes you have to give to get, but if it wasn't for the people that are watching right now, the people that are going to watch the replays, the people that are going to watch the reviews, which, by the way, Erebus is coming out this Friday. Yeah, this Friday, the Erebus review is coming out. I polished that off. I wouldn't be here. I'd just be some crazy lunatic talking about timepieces on my own. So I appreciate you guys, man. I really do, and you make things happen for me. So if there is a watch, since we're on topic, that you would love to see me do a review, let me know, and I'll try to reach out to do a collaboration with the company, whether it is borrowed or is gifted, it doesn't matter. And I'll dig deep into that. We talked about Artem straps last time from my man Thelonious. Again, if you're just tuning in, I really wanted to give you guys the look from the last live of what I was talking about. So San Martin bracelet on my BOP, exquisite. Finding the correct strap for your watch is just as important as buying the right watch, believe it or not, because I did not risk this watch as much until I put this mesh on it. Now, the only thing I could criticize, if I had to, is I feel, in my personal opinion, that this buckle, the clasp rather, could be larger, right? They have these mesh bracelets with larger clasps just to balance out the watch itself, but now we're just grasping at straws at that point. I love this combination. I love this watch, incredibly accurate, affordable. I think it's around $500 range, you know, compared to tens of thousands of dollars, talking about a space-themed, something with horological, actual storyline to it, right? Because if you want to go and get caught up on that Speedy Tuesday, it could be a speedy bank withdrawal to get that watch. So getting other watches, and you also have the Moon Swatch out there, you know, it is what it is. I love my Moon Swatch. I know what it's capable of, what it's not capable of. I've done a homage of the actual Speedy. I have this watch, of course. So I'm having fun on Speedy Tuesdays, y'all. I really am. It's real leather, I guess. With anything, they could be lying, but I have no reason to believe it's a stamped pattern. Yeah, me too, man. And I don't get caught up on that, especially when it's an affordable watch. I'm like, whatever. I've got plenty of other straps. I'm going to do some strap organization. Shout out to you people on Watch Crunch for sending me how you guys like to organize your straps. I think that moving forward, somebody had like a one of those like binders, and it had sleeves for it. That was super clean, man. I think I'm gonna have to adopt that one quickly to organize the straps, because 2025, just like my man Travis, who's in the chat, is gonna be about the straps, baby. Of course, we're gonna feature watches, but as far as what I'm purchasing and putting into my collection outside of the collaborations, I'm gonna mess around with straps and enjoy my collection of 50 plus watches at this point. We're gonna downsize a little bit. And for me, I feel like that is more important than trying to go after the next thing. At a certain point, I think every watch collector, especially if you let in 10 plus watches inside the door or inside the watch box, if you will, needs to figure out a plan to not get impressed by shiny things and kind of slow down that process. And 2025 is going to be that for me, except for the New York Wind-Up Fair, which I will salvage for my watch purchasing adventures. I was on Archie Luxury's channel and a few days ago, and we discussed the cost of buying watches for YouTube. Okay, cool. I definitely want to check out that conversation, Travis. Trap Vision 3D, he was on Archie Luxury, and he was talking about the cost of buying watches for YouTube. And listen, it could get heavy. It could get heavy. A lot of these straps from major companies get made in Vietnam. Etsy allows you to cut out the middleman. There you go, man. And you know what? It's not just a conversation for affordable watches. We see a lot of, we see a lot of brands save costs on their straps one way or another. And I think that that's a missed opportunity because it's just the icing on the cake. If you have a nice strap, if it has functions in it, especially on a bracelet like this San Martin bracelet that I put on my BLP, I think that what I foresee, and we talked about this, Thelonious, in what I foresee moving forward, I think what we need to create as a demand, as a community, is better bracelets, is better straps. I mean, if you're gonna do a leather strap, now the Bolony that I just showed you guys has no quick release, right? Is that the biggest deal? No, because at this point, obviously, most of us are nice with the tools that we have to do. You know, you kind of pinch this strap in, squeeze it in, and then you put the metal fork to release that spring bar. That's kind of like the thing. So like that, you stay away from this. And everything on here is high polished. So if we do have a slip, that could be aggravating to a person that doesn't want scratches on their watches. So I get it, which leans me more into saying there should be quick release on every strap. Yeah. Further than that, I believe that having curved rubber straps or curved leather straps should be more popular. You guys saw my Venetianico Rendendore Aventurina. They actually put 2 holes on their lugs to get that spring bar in closer when you're putting in the leather strap. I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant that they also, now did that have drilled lugs? No, I don't think it has drilled lugs. It still doesn't have quick release or drilled lugs, I don't believe. However, at least I got one of the two. At least I got a curved leather strap, great quality, and it got closer to the case, making it more flush. So that should be a thing. Now on these, is a curved leather end necessary? No. Why? Because the lugs are very short, right? So let's make sure to mention and be clear about what we're talking about. Now, this is a large size diameter watch, so shorter lugs need to be a necessity, and I think that they hit it on the head by doing that. Very, very smart. Also on this Pierre Paulin, the lugs are not that long. They're more of like your conventional length, right? We have drilled lugs here, which, by the way, I didn't talk to 100 people in the back end of about drilled lugs. I did talk to Mark Time, right? And on our interview, he said it doesn't cost more to do drilled lugs. That's more of a design aspect, is more of a design feature. Sometimes the watchmakers or the independent brands or whoever's making the watch, if you will, just don't want to put drilled lugs because they feel like it breaks up the continuity of the finishing of the case. Made me think about that, right? Made me appreciate that kind of perspective. And I don't think it's a cop-out. I think that that's legitimate, and it may not be for everyone. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't cost you much to do it, now we're talking about an independent space, not a mass-produced watch like the two that we're showing here today. So I'm sure if they're taking off-the-shelf cases, then you have less of an opportunity to go back to the manufacturer to say, hey, I want drilled lugs. They're like, we don't do that. We just produce the cases in mass quantity. Do you want it or not? So that's a thing. But quick release, man, quick release. And this also so is that overkill? Some may say that that is overkill, having drilled lugs and a quick release, but I don't think so, because not every strap in your collection is going to have that quick release. So having drilled lugs is nice for when you do swap that out and you put it on your watch. A lot of these straps from Major, I read that one. Archie literally took out a second mortgage to keep up with the watch game. Shoot, man. See, like there's different levels to this game. I definitely would not go that route. But if I'm not mistaken, I mean, his name is Archie Luxury. So he's talking about watches that are in the tens of thousands of dollars. Most watch reviewers are not coming into the game with that kind of money, I don't think. And therefore, they go the route of talking about affordable watches. We first saw a bunch of reviewers do affordable watches. And then we had the, what is it called? We had the trend, or we had the style of watch reviews where they're just showing it on the computer, kind of window shopping them, right? Because again, I get it. That's to offset the cost. Some people don't like watching those reviews because you're not touching and feeling the watches. I can't agree to that testament to say that you don't really have a relationship with the timepiece to talk about it in depth of educational wise unless you put that watch in your hand. Because I don't care what you say, in my opinion, there has been things that I've noticed after the fact that I would have never noticed online. I talked about that pilot style watch from Tandorio. I was a little underwhelmed. Again, that's also a mental thing too, because I'm used to my watches having more detail. Pilot watches are designed obviously to be very clear. They're very quick to read. So it technically is on theme. And if you look at the Laco designs, if you look at a lot of other people's pilot designs, they're without a lot of detail for a particular reason. And when I got the watch in and I put it on wrist, I noticed that they weren't applied, they were printed, but they had a little bit of, you know what I'm talking about? That little raised kind of look to them. So I appreciate that more. I also appreciate the fact of the, what do you call that? The dial is, what's it called when it changes in the light? You guys know what I'm talking about. I appreciated that more. And yeah, so I realized that you have to touch and feel the watch to give an in-depth feel for it. If you're watching this and you're making a decision based off of my review, I get that you probably want to touch and feel. Now, you may be just looking for a deal and or maybe a gift for somebody, so maybe that's not the case. But again, it's hard to keep up with that demand of watches to have on hand cost-wise. Blah, 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 blah. I put up the link for the Etsy. Thank you, sir. Straps are like a good pair of shoes. Yo, and I want to go ahead and say that I did relate straps to shoes as an accessory for your watch. But dude, I really feel like it's more of an outfit, right? I feel like it's more than just shoes. I feel like it changes it dynamically. Maybe even I consider it to have a nice clean cut as well. I don't know. But I did fall in love all over again after having this BLP for, I want to say over a year, definitely over a year, probably longer. And now I wrist it on way more. Good day, everybody. Noctua Watches is in the building. Mr. JP is in the building. Good morning, sir. Let me just catch up. Drill lugs are useful, but it does kind of kill the side profile of some watches. Yeah, absolutely, Thelonious. And especially when we talk about a watch company that is heavily focused on the detailing of their finishing on the sides, and or if they want you to appreciate the crown, they don't want to take away from any kind of distortion, and they want you to focus on the details, then for sure. Now, these are done very, very small, these drilled lugs, so maybe not so much, and I don't think anybody cares too much on this watch, but that is a thing, and that was a perspective that I do value the most doing this, because had I not had an interview with him and asked him point blank, why not drilled lugs, knowing that it makes things easier. Now, even with the drilled lugs, guys, don't go crazy. Like, just because you have a tool, you could still miss your mark, right? So what I like to do is, whether or not I'm changing it from the inside of the lug or I'm going through the drilled lug process, take your metal tool, right? Place it ever so gently and try to get it in that hole without applying any force. One thing that I've realized is that when I come in hot and I miss that mark, now I'm scratching up the watch, right? But if I come in very, very gently, almost letting that tool end fall into this hole and then apply pressure, you're good money. Likewise for this lug. If this didn't have quick release and I'm pressing here to create space, come in very gently until you hit that mark of that spring, and then apply pressure and carry on that way. So, quick tips. Let me see if you guys are good. You guys are good. Sunburst. Thank you, sir. Sunburst. Sunburst is what I was talking about for that dial. Now, for my third edition and for my third link sent out for a Christmas present, we got something nice over here, man. I'm going to unpackage it and I'm going to show you guys. Now, I showed you guys the model numbers, the DW5600 on the G-Shock Classic Square. Yeah. I put the white casing on it. I talked to you guys about that being the easiest modification that you can do for it. It doesn't cost a lot of money and very easy to modify if you want to get into your modifying, just get your feet wet. Now, what I did do, and this is also linked in the description, is I found a titanium version of that casing, right? So we could switch out the vibes. Now the white is still a winter vibe. It is gonna get dirty quickly, I would think. I think I like to flex that white color in the summer more like. But what I do have here today, ladies and gentlemen, from AliExpress, by the way, these were all purchased. I did go on the main websites for the Bolony and the Pierre Paulin, but this one doesn't have a website. And here is the case shroud. Well, this can be, I guess it's just considered a case, and the other piece is a module. This is the case for it. This is titanium, okay? I went with black to stay on theme with the original black casing that comes on it. I could have went stainless steel. They have stainless steel. They have titanium in the regular look to it. And then they have titanium with this PVD coating. And I decided to go that way because I wanted to keep some originality. Plus, a lot of my modifications, when we talk about the AE 1200 and the AE 1300 or 1600, a lot of the cases from Do-It-Yourself Watch Club, they have metal cases that are going to step into the normality of having stainless steel. So it's often a little bit more rare to go titanium, which I think that they should do titanium for the AE 1300 now that we're speaking about it. But I also talked about how having larger size watches, which this one's not too crazy. Yeah, I think this was not considered a super chunky boy, not like my King G-Shock. But even still, man, I did not have titanium in my collection up until the last point of doing the collaboration with Tandorio, which allowed me to really get the feel for it. One of the things that I was looking at was the actual weight. I know mentally sometimes it's hard to deal with titanium because we associate heft with quality. Not always the case, guys. I've seen some fake watches in my day where they actually put something weighted inside the watch, right? That does nothing but add weight to the watch. So like that, you can be fooled. So let's not associate weight only to be of quality. And we also know that titanium, I'm struggling to remove this plastic. So all of this is just to fill in, to fill in the time that I take this plastic off. Let's not associate weight only with it, knowing that titanium is a nice quality. And you know what? It didn't feel cheap. It still had a little bit of weight, you know? It was definitely lighter than what it should have been, but I felt like it was on par and on theme with having that quality type of feel associated with it. Come off, man. This is what happens when I'm modding. When I get frustrated, I start using more force. Now, this is just plastic, so we probably won't do anything here that's everlasting damage, but we're finally getting it a little bit removed here. Sorry, guys. I just really want to show you what it looked like. All right, so here we go. Titanium. Okay, PVD coated. It has a whole bunch of wording on it. Looks super tactical. Let's hold this up. Let's hold that up. And it's just a two-piece thing. Now, when this came in, it came in also with proper screws that you do need to use when you're going from the conventional DW 5600 to this case. The screws are not transferable. You have to use the screws that come with this kit. I think it's going to look super dope. I think it's going to give it like a super tactical feel to it. And I love all of those little, you know, red kind of lettering on it. Even throughout the bracelet, we have some white lettering on it. Does it feel jingly jangly? Again, it feels light. And I've held stainless steel bracelets that felt light because they were hollow and they weren't of great quality. However, this is titanium, so mentally I have to give myself a break to know that that's what it is. And it's going to be nice to have that G-Shock with lightweight on it, I think. Now, we do have some micro tooled adjustment on this clasp. It is a push deployment. We are milled here, and pretty good quality, if I have to say so myself. Now, they don't have an actual store online for this kind of kit. It is through AliExpress. And here's the deal. I think this was on sale for $70, so I'm no stranger to paying more for the actual bracelets than for the watch. Again, this was a Christmas gift, so I didn't pay for it. But I think this is going to look super cool on the watch, man. I will record myself putting this on, even though it's a super simple thing. I still like to make those videos just to make people privy that maybe own the watch already and looking to do something a little exciting. Now, they do have DW watches that are expensive, right? The range is kind of great, and the version that I have is just the battery. It's not even the solar powered. So I was happy with that. Did I kick myself after I purchased it? I probably was like, man, I should have maybe looked at the solar, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like a toss of the coin, if you will, yeah? Solar powered, so you have that benefit and you have that feature where you don't have to worry about the battery dying off so long as it's solar powered. Solar powering watches and movements are not necessarily everlasting. The fact that you don't have to switch out the battery to keep it going is one thing, but when those cells are actually depleted and no longer hold a charge like many other power cells do, right? Same thing you see with your cell phone. If you don't know this, don't keep your cell phone plugged on overnight. Why? Because you're overcharging the battery cell, which, by the way, battery cells don't like to be at 100%. They like to sneak around 85 to 90% full. You can actually change the feature on your iPhone so like that it only gets charged to 90%. That sounds mad, but here's the deal. If you keep your phone plugged in overnight, every single night, you're beating up that battery cell. So a lot of you that do that probably know later on it'll say 100%, then it'll drop to 50 in like 5 minutes, and you're like, hold on, wait a minute, what's going on? Well, what's going on is that battery cell's retention is no longer keeping charge because it's been overcharged over a long period of time. So I have mine set to 90. It will last longer from proportionally from that 90 going down, being drained at a slower pace than having an overcharged battery cell. Not just talking watches, I guess, but in the likes. Same thing with the solar power that eventually has to be changed out. You can't do that yourself, I don't think. I've not heard anybody. In fact, Citizen and all the people that do solar power energy, they tell you that it has to be brought back to them to swap that out. But it does last a very long time. I'm thinking it probably lasts 15, 20 years. So tomato, tomato, it all depends on whether or not you actually like to go in the watch and change out the battery. I bought a used G-Shock for my brother. Just bought the bezel, case back protector, and straps. So you bought like the bull bar, I guess. Case back protector and straps. At the end, it looks almost new. Exactly, Oscar. Giving it a brand new, fresh aspect, a brand new, fresh look that's on theme with what we're saying here for 25 and what we're going to do to just stick with what the watches that we have already and appreciate what we have and slow down that buying process, man. Like, I'm going to take in all of the information for what's out there and then go for it. Why do you think that TGV gets so much flack for saying jingly jangly? I think, honestly, Thelonious, I probably got the jingly jangly thing from him. I don't find anything wrong with the describing a bracelet like that at the end. Knew exactly what he meant. Very confusing. Yeah, I don't know, man. Here's the deal, and I said that, but it gives me that feel, but it doesn't really jingle jangle too much. I know it sounds like it does, but if you ever really held one that's crazy jingly jangly, it's a big difference in sound. That's never really bothered me in general. In fact, there's not a lot of things that bother me. Scratches on my watches don't bother me. The jingle jangle doesn't bother me. What else? The wobbly movement in Miyotas don't bother me at all. I don't know, man. I think that they're cool little aspects to the watch that I can appreciate instead of get mad. You know, obviously, if I get a brand new watch, I don't want to blast the crystal or blast the side of it, take a chunk of metal off. That's not what I'm talking about here. But if it does happen, just like in my Long Island watch that I improperly tried to remove the bezel for, I live with it. I live with it and I'm okay with it and I don't get mad at it because at the end of the day, we should be warming up our timepieces and giving it the proper war scars that they deserve. In my opinion, there are other people that like to use them as investments. They sit in a vault or they sit, wherever the case may be. It is what it is. But I think that most of you on here, BOP, man, mesh, love it. Treat the watches accordingly. And so that's another thing too, man. I got to look into the collection and see what's been put on ice, what hasn't been wristed, what's going on with that. Why am I not liking it? Is it the strap? Is it something else? Is it time to move on from it? I think that those are some things that we should look at, in my opinion, before moving forward in 25 and just buying a whole bunch of watches, because you can get caught up. And here's the deal. A lot of my watches that come in, even when I'm doing an affordable watch for the channel to do a review, that is not going to be the only role that this watch plays in my collection. Yeah, I'm not going to do the review, toss it to the side, not wear it. This watch is actually a red dial that I don't have. It's a excuse me, it's a single hand that a jump hour that I don't have in my collection yet. So movements, complications, colors. You know, you may not feel that every color matches your skin tone or matches your swag to pair with, but I feel like getting something you don't have is a lot nicer than having 15 different blue colorway dials. And if you collect that way, God bless you, no problem. Do your thing, boo boo. But for me, I like to have a range, and I like to see the differences between it. And my expectations is just that. Is just the quality in the straps and also the features that are in watches moving forward with independent brands. I think that that needs to be the status quo, because here I don't understand how Erebus can do it coming out the gate. Wise has been doing it as far as all those features that we get in the bracelets. So I'm kind of getting a little snobby, if you will, with my independent brands. Now, listen, does that mean that I'm not going to purchase a watch that doesn't have it? No, of course not. I'm going to still purchase it. I'm only talking as far as an enthusiast, just like you guys, that I would have expectations in my watch, but I'm excited to see what unfolds for 2025 regardless. So I think was that the only two watches? That was two watches. That was that. I showed you guys this. That's pretty much it. Yeah, so that was my haul, man. I don't know if you guys got anything for Christmas. Let me know what was on your list. Did you get it? Or did you purchase the watch yourself to put it in your collection? That's a thing too, to make sure that you didn't get the missing out aspect of it. My long jeans has its first battle scar from the granddaughter. Okay, she dropped it on the side and now there's a dent, still running like a champ. Awesome, man. Here's the deal. The biggest takeaway for me, and that happened with me, Travis. I was trying to get fancy with my shots. I actually wore my Venetianico Nerede Oreo for Christmas, because that thing looks like a Christmas ornament, right? So there was a point where when I was home, I put it around the Christmas tree, kind of like leaves or whatever, and I was gonna take a shot like, oh, this looks like an ornament. This is gonna be a cool shot. Man, I dropped the watch, man. It slipped off, fell in between the tree, took a little thud. Now, on its way down, the rest of the tree probably slowed that velocity down. The impact was absorbed a little bit by the carpet, so there are no marks on it, but I was like, oh man, because here's the deal. It's an automatic watch, Swiss made movement. A lot of moving parts, a lot of things that could go wrong. Still runs like a champ, didn't take a scratch, but it happens, man. And if it does, you know, you got to live with the scratch. But if it's still running like a champ, that goes back to what we were talking about before, how watches are not as fragile as you think, especially when they're inside of their case. And a lot of the shock absorbent mechanisms within the modern day movements are improved and are built to do that. Now, does that mean you're guaranteed? No. You can drop the watch at a shorter distance. Just the way that it falls, the angle, the impact, what it fell on is all inclusive to see if whether or not that's still going to be the case. But most of the time, inside of a case with modern technology, you should be good, because gravity is a mother. Absolutely. But it happens, man. I was so mad at myself. You know what I mean? So, first impressions of both watches, guys. I do like it. I have to mess around with it. I got to wear it on wrist. I'm probably going to see what other straps we can put with it. Nothing crazy as far as the specifications go. I did like that the Pierre Paulin had the quick release for us, has a decent leather strap. It is even more so supple. They have versions of this that you can buy on bracelet. I didn't go that route. I don't know if this colorway had that option. Again, the links are in the description if you guys are interested to take a peek. But a nice taper on this as well. I didn't say that. That's 20 to 16 millimeter, right? And this one, I don't think it has actually, this one doesn't have a taper at all, which makes sense because we have a wider body for the case itself. So it has to kind of even out, as opposed to something a little slimmer that tapers down. I think on a vintage style bracelet that this would look magnificent. Either or, actually, right? Either one would look great on a vintage style bracelet. But I'm going to mess around with the strap that it came with. I'm going to leave it as is and see what's going on with it. It's a memory. Yeah, it's definitely a memory, especially that you didn't do it. Your granddaughter did, so it's precious. She's mad interested in watches, so she'll get that long jeans at one point. There you go. And then clip that where, I don't know if you were recording when she dropped it, but she'll be on there. I know you have her on there sometimes, so that's a sentimental thing, and that's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's what it's all about, man. Making memories, appreciate collections, kind of refining our direction moving forward. Again, shout out to the person on Watch Crunch that sent me the way that they organize their straps, which is basically like a binder, if you will, with plastic sheets that you slip them in. And I think that that would make things easier for me to say, this is my 20 millimeter sheets, this is my 21, which is an odd number, but I do have some watches that are that do have the 21. More specifically, you see that commonly with the Bambino, the Orient watch, right? I don't even know if they're calling it Bambino anymore. I think that we're going to call it the Bambino because we know what we're talking about. I had another one, the Zezimi was also 21. So there's a couple of 21s in there. I pretty much just buy the strap that matches with that watch, and then as time goes on, I'll add to that and keep to that theme. But because it's not as common as a 20 or 22, you know, not as plentiful, but a nice way to kind of divide and conquer those strap changes and have a lot of fun with it. Because I would have never in my wildest, it's on my wrist, I would have never in my wildest imagined of dreams that a San Martin would have paired very nicely with my BLP. And now that it does, again, the only thing I would say is I'd probably get a buckle, a clasp rather, that's a little bit bigger just to match the heft of it. But we're cherry picking. We're cherry picking, and I'm going to be happy with it on the San Martin as is and wear it accordingly. She actually learning how to size watches now. Yo, teach them young, man. Teach them young, and that's something that I'm interested in trying to do moving forward and doing like a little class setup for the youth of getting into horology and starting off with just some strap changes for them, yeah? And then maybe graduating into case changes, graduating into some bezel designs and everything of the like, so... Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, how long we been on? All right, so it's almost an hour, guys. I'm not going to stay on. If you guys have any questions, let me know now because we're getting to the top of the hour. And I want to respect everybody's time and save some watch talk for the next one. But of course, we're going to do a deep dive on these watches. We're going to do a watch review. I got a lot of watch reviews on the bank. Again, Erebus is coming out this week. We did an unboxing for that. After that, I think we're doing the titanium twins with Tandorio. Say that 3 times fast. Then we have the PT5000, which I'm trying to educate myself as much as I can because I'm super intrigued. Like I said in the beginning portion of this show, it's really intriguing me to the fact that that is a clone of an ETA movement, still at a pretty affordable range and offsetting that kind of conversation that we have with performance and or design specification fatigue from the NH movement. And I'm always going to love my NH movement. In fact, the NH movement offers a lot of off-the-shelf options as a modifier, so there's always going to be a lot of love to that. As if it does become more popular, the PT5000, then there's going to be more options for off-the-shelf parts, right? So we'll keep with that. Oh, let me see what the chat's talking about. Let me catch up, and then we're going to sign off. I'll give it a couple of minutes before we sign off, guys. I'll do my random ranting. Travis, I don't know if you're going to do a live, brother, but that'd be cool. I saw you did a live, man, for Christmas. You're the hardest working man. YouTube needs to make a specific plaque for people who do lives, and I'm talking about... We're gonna talk about a little bit of controversy stuff, actually, before we end this segment off, man. We're going to talk about it. But let's go back to giving Travis his flowers. That man goes live a lot. And I'm doing this now, so I can tell you confidently that that's not an easy thing to come on here time and time and again and not talk about, like, the same stuff or be boring or be entertaining and show something new or just have notes for yourself for flowing through the lives. And sometimes I have notes. This is more of a freestyle because I had an unboxing, so that kind of gave it its notes itself. I didn't go through the specifications. I do apologize, but there are links in case you're interested on any of the watches that we showed here today. But I want to give flowers to my man Travis for doing as many lives as he does and doing them so elegantly. YouTube needs to make its own plaque and give it to my man for those who do lives that are actually the person in front of the camera, right? Like, it's easy to do a live and have something on a repeat play or whatever, playing sounds and stuff like that. Not taking anything away from them. I don't know what it requires to set that kind of thing up. However, lives, man, are beautiful. Lives are very human to human interaction even more so than long form. I feel like you're getting to see the person without the shiny edits and making everything look all jazzed up, and you're going to see some mistakes. It humanizes us. It allows us to connect us. It allows us to have real-time chat and real-time conversation. Travis is definitely the GOAT when it comes to lives, for sure. Not saying that other people are not doing it well, but man, oh man, is that not an easy thing? And I give my flowers to you, sir. Now, going back to the controversy talk with lives, what's going on with these lives, bro? I go on lives and sometimes I go the scrolling to see if there's anybody else, you know, talking watches live, and see if anybody else is doing what we do. And bro, there was somebody who had a face on their hand. Like they put eyes, right? And they did that. You know, you did it like when you were young and you put them out, and he was using it to chew food. And there was like 300 it was like, it's like, matter of fact, I gotta hold on. Let me just give you guys. Do I have my candy bar back here? Your boy keeps a snack in the back of the truck sometimes. I don't have it on me, man, but he's feeding his hand food. And it was like 300 people watching, and I'm like, what? How? How? I watched it for a couple of seconds. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm like, how? And there's also some other strange stuff that I see people. I mean, listen, do you think, boo boo? I guess it's working, but I'm just like, sheesh. No words, no dialogue, no music, just I guess the sound kind of thing, ASMR, whatever that is, and just I don't know. I don't know. I I don't know how that works, but it's working for them. I enjoy it. This community is second to none. I appreciate exactly, and that's how I feel doing these lives. It feels like I'm just hanging out with the fam. It feels like I'm just chilling with the boys or girls at that matter. And it's a very valuable thing to be able to connect to you guys on lifetime. Aside from just doing the reviews, I feel like it's two separate categories. It can be kind of intertwined in some capacity, but this is real cool, man. I love just talking and just ranting about watches. I feel like Nickelodeon had that in one of their commercials back. Yeah, dude, exactly. It was a Nickelodeon commercial. And it was, you know, it's funny for a commercial, and then you're selling something and cool, but bro, the whole life was just his hand going ram, 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 and then feeding the candy. And I'm like, yo, 200, 300, 300 people watching. I don't know. I saw 1,500 people watching a guy spinning a knife while staring at the camera. That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like, and that's probably like they're waiting for that knife to slip. Unfortunately, that's what's driving the attention on that one. But you do you, and we gonna stay on here and stay on topic talking about watches. Today was probably my most off rant type of thing, talking about battery cells, but it did relate to the solar power charge of watches. So, you know, I figured I'd just throw that in there. But hey, man, it is what it is. You remind me of Trevor Noah. I appreciate that, man. I like Trevor Noah. He's actually really, really funny guy. He's actually like and I hope I'm making you laugh, JP. That's awesome. So anyway, guys, I don't have any more. We're over the hour by 2 minutes. I always love doing this. Hopefully, my next live is probably going to be, in fact, I know it's going to be random. Maybe we could do something with Travis now that I'm on vacation. I don't know. But anyway, this was fun. I appreciate you guys for coming on here and spending your most valuable asset, which is time. Have a lovely rest of your day, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I hopefully will see you in the next one.